Welcome to another installment of 5-Minute Tones. I hope you're all fantastic. On today's video, I want to show you a cool way you can use the Flanger block as a boost in the Axe FX3, FM9, and FM3. Before we do that, I've got my favorite Marshall style amp in the box, the Brit 800 mod, with my go-to LTTV mix cab IR. You can see I've actually got a little bit of the transformer preamp type in here, giving it a bit of drive and saturation, just a bit of extra sauce on there. But yeah, LTTV Mix 7, link in the video description if you want that one for free. 80 Hertz low cut, 8K high cut. Let's have a listen to this. Sounds like rock and roll, that's what we want. I also just generally like having a bit of reverb on here, so my good old mate London Plate, one tweak in here, you can see I've set the low cut frequency in the reverb to 200 Hertz just so the low end doesn't get too washy. 1.5 seconds of decay on there, mix at 12%, we get this. All right, I'm happy right there. You're probably familiar with the sound of a flanger. I'm going to flick over to scene 2 here where I'm using the electric mystery. These are matched to a physical vintage 9-volt electric Mistress. You can grab them in my free blocks library. But you know, it does the swooshy thing. Let's have a listen to what it does. That's a great sounding flanger. Now, a real electric Mistress has a switch called the filter matrix, which essentially removes the LFO from the circuit. So you can kind of set the core delay time in there on an electric Mistress using the range control. Something like a Boss BF2 has something like a manual control on there. And you can see we've got a manual control on here. So if I take the depth to 0 on this, I can sweep the manual control around. And basically what it's doing is setting the value of a very short delay. You know, the feedback control in here is going to control how much feedback that really short delay has on there. And I'm pretty sure on the Axe, as you turn the manual higher, you get closer to the minimum time on here. So you can see under 1 millisecond if we crank this all the way up. So what I'm going to do is play and just move that manual control. It might kind of sound like a cocked wah. It might kind of remind you of a few other effects. But essentially what that really short delay is doing is creating something called a comb filter. Let's have a listen to it. Now, if you crank the feedback up really high, you can get that kind of like faux sitar style effect. So take the feedback up to 90–95% and let you hear that. With the feedback cranked up like that, we're making the notches in the comb a lot more pronounced, and it actually kind of starts to resemble a sort of harmonic resonator in there, which is why you can do those faux sitar style sounds on there. What I really like though is just setting the feedback to 0 on there, and you can kind of cop that Ronnie Tekro TNT sound on there. Let's go to channel B. Actually, let's just go to scene 3 over here because I've dialed these ones in. So using the BBF2, so the Boss BF2 model in there, basically just take the depth down to 0, leave the feedback at 0, and then crank the manual control all the way up. Ronnie's settings were everything at 0 except for the manual. The Axe FX actually kind of lets us take this further as a boost because we can add more level from there. So I'll just let you hear the difference with these TNT settings on there. Let's hear that now with a bit of delay after the amp and cab and even more gain from the amp. I'll let you hear it with and without. There is one more way we can achieve that effect. Like I said earlier, those settings on the flanger are creating a comb filter. In the filter block, you actually have the option to have a feed forward or a feedback comb filter in there. So you can enter the same delay time as your minimum delay time in the flanger block, which was 1.17 milliseconds over here for the BF2. I've punched that in, I've set the depth, in this case, to minus 50% to kind of mimic what the actual flanger is doing. You can even add a little bit of high cut and a little bit of low cut in there if you want to do that. This is a good visual representation of the kind of teeth of the comb right there. So what I'll let you hear is I'll take the flanger, the way it was, I just set the level back to 0, and I'll compare that to these settings that I've got over here with the filter block. They sound pretty similar. They don't sound identical. I didn't take that long tweaking them to sound the same. But if you don't have enough CPU to run the flanger in there, try this feed forward comb. Gives you a very similar effect. Once you've got your favorite settings dialed in, I would recommend you save them into the blocks library. As always, it's a really cool alternative to using a drive pedal, using a kind of typical peaking filter in the filter block, or even using a fixed wah. Again, so easy to set up in there. If you want to do it in the flanger, just turn the depth all the way down to 0. You can play around with the feedback if you want some of that resonant effect in there, but just find the sweet spot with the manual control and go. It's that easy. If you enjoyed this, consider supporting my channel by following one of the links in the video description. Have a great day, go and make some noise with this, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.